What's the relationship between hernias and the pelvic floor? Well, the pelvic floor is part of your core, and when we have a strong core, we can minimize the risk of hernias, and especially after we've had hernial repair, we want to make sure that we have a strong core. Hernias can often happen when we're not stabilizing the core muscles properly, and we're creating a large intra-abdominal pressure, which can tear the fascia in the abdomen and create these hernias. And they can be in the abdominal wall or at the umbilicus or into the groin, so inguinal hernias. And when I have clients that come to me with a hernia, we make sure that they know how to turn on their deeper core system properly. So making sure they know how to do a Kegel, which engages our pelvic floor, which then engages our transversus abdominis, which is the muscle in the front. So if you do have a hernia, you want to make sure that you know how to do your breath pattern a little bit better, and you're not holding your breath and bracing when you do load, like lift up something heavy, which creates a lot of intra-abdominal pressures and can, therefore you're at risk of developing further hernias or worsening that hernia. So for instance, I had a client with one inguinal hernia, and which he had a repair. He came to me when he started feeling some symptoms of left inguinal hernia, and he'd already had that checked. He did not have it when he had the surgery repair for the right one. But he never had rehab. He never had anyone to tell him how to stabilize his intra-abdominal pressures and what to do strategy-wise with lifting or coughing, those types of things. So he came to see me via a friend of his that told him to come see me with left-sided inguinal discomfort. And he said, I think I might be getting another inguinal hernia. And so I said, well, look, go back to your doctor, get your ultrasound, make sure that that's on its way. But in the meantime, let's make sure that you have a strong pelvic floor, that you know how to stabilize your transversus abdominis, that you're not bracing with your breath when you're loading yourself up. You have better lifting practices, and you make sure that you're really have a strong core. Even if you are going back into surgery, you want to have a strong core before going in. So we call it like prehab. So he did have a second hernia on that left side. So he had to go back in and go for another surgery. But that took a few months for him to get back into surgery. And so we did the stability work. And then I saw him afterwards and made sure that he was still stabilizing correctly. So if you do have a hernia, or if you've had hernial repair, just make sure that you know how to stabilize your core correctly, that you're doing your breath work correctly, and that you're not pressing out into your abdominals, because a lot of times people will do core work, but they're not doing it correctly. So they're actually bulging out their core. They're doing things like dead bug, let's say, or heavy duty abdominal work. But I asked them, I say, look down at your tummy. Can you see how it's just absolutely ballooning out? It's bulging out. You're not keeping that corset, that nice tight corset around your abdomen. So if you see yourself and you look down at your tummy and you notice that you're bulging out when you're doing your core exercises, you may very well be doing them incorrectly. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we have a strong core, that we're maintaining our intra-abdominal pressures to minimize risk of hernias.